Welcome to Burned and Better. I'm your host, Dr. Denisa Weber, a seven-figure CEO, speaker, mother, entrepreneur, and chiropractor. Over the last 15 years, I've faced the highest highs and the lowest lows of entrepreneurship, motherhood, and leadership. I've burned more times than I can count, but every time I've found a way through and come out better. This isn't about polished highlight reels. It's about the real, unfiltered side of leading, the kind of conversations usually kept behind closed doors. Here, I share my own stories and sit down with leaders who've stumbled, recalibrated, and built something worth leading. So if you've ever felt the weight of success or wonder what it looks like to fall hard but rise stronger, you're in the right place. Let's normalize the messy middle of leadership and step into the episode. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Burn and Better. I'm going through some of my notes from different places that I've invested in being in rooms. And while I'm actually recording this in Florida, while I'm about to go to Ed Milet's house tomorrow, I'm so excited we get to spend 6 hours at his home, at his Florida home on the beach, and basically going through how to max out our 2026. And he's going to work us through, there's about maybe a little over 18 of us sitting in a room together. And honestly, I'm excited. I don't know what we have in store, what he has in store for us, but this should be fun. But I can't wait to come back here and share a little bit more about that. But what I will tell you and take you through is on the back end of Main Street over Wall Street, which I got to attend Codie Sanchez's Main Street over Wall Street in Austin about a month ago. And honestly, my mind is still reeling off of it. There's been so many different takeaways from this event. And from the fact that the co-founder of Palantir, Joe Lonsdale, was there, he was talking about AI-operated naval ships. Yeah. From that to how to set up seller financing of in acquisition of acquiring businesses. And it was just nice. I was in this room of probably about 700 to 800 people. And either they were business owners or they're looking to acquire a business. And I love Codie Sanchez's message. If you don't already follow her already, I'd highly suggest it. But she's talking about 65 million US, there's 65 million people who are employed by small business owners. And now with baby boomers letting go of their businesses, whether it's due to health, whether it's due to just they want to let go of their businesses and go and retire, there are so many different businesses are open for acquisition. And if they don't release it, they don't sell it, and there are not people that are looking to acquire these businesses, then there's employees that are left in the dust, and they're left to being acquired by corporations. And it's just interesting that, she's talking about through the lens of freedom is literally the backbone of our industry, of capitalism is small business ownership, and it allows us to have freedom, and we can employ different people and all these things. And so her mission is kind of from that place. And so I know she started out in kind of laundromats, and there's so many more things, but she is a beast. She is a go-getter, and we got to listen to her, but she got to bring on a ton of people inside that 2 days. I mean, as a chiropractor, I literally was stapled to a chair for 2 days, and I was so happy about it. It wasn't comfortable, but I did not want to get up for 1 second. I didn't want to miss anything. And so thankfully, Mimi and Poppy were able to take care of Pearson and they live outside of Austin. So this was perfect. So I got to see them and also it was on the campus of UT Austin. And as an Aggie, have feelings about that, but it was great. Anyway, but yes, we got to hear from Joe Lonsdale, who was talking about the naval ships, and he came from Silicon Valley in San Francisco and talking about his, him and his family and their values and what brought them into Texas and into Austin. To Alex Jakowski, he's the CEO of Sense, CENTS, but basically he has he owns so many laundromats across the United States, and just how the evolution of him, because he's very tech savvy, how he turned that industry around. So if you look at it, it's just wild. They go coinless to end up working with DoorDash, so that now you can order your clothes to be washed, and then they have a fold. They have a fold service, and then DoorDash can deliver it back to you, to where they have some dry cleaning services, He's just really changed the game of laundromats. And then just talking about, and then there was Bobby Graham. He's the president of Biz Scout. So if you guys have ever heard of like Biz by Sell, am I saying that right? Where you can see what businesses are for sale, basically. Biz Scout is, I think Codie is a part owner in that. And they are kind of in cahoots with the contrarian thinking community, which is her company. And you're basically able to, they call this your deal box, but you're basically able to create your deals. Your deal box is the things that you have interest in, or basically maybe they're the vendors that you utilize inside your companies, and it finds alignment. So once you find your deal box, then you're able to apply your deal box inside of BizScout, and BizScout's able to basically give you a tailored version of different businesses that fit your deal box, and you can see what's for sale. It's pretty gnarly, which was kind of the reason why I pulled the trigger and was like, yeah, just put me in the thing. Like, I want to know all the things. But, some of this, like a big takeaway from him was buying your expenses. He's like, what businesses are you paying on a constant, like your vendors? Like, what could you be acquiring? And that was very insightful. I was like, never thought about that. And then Lloyd Silver, he's inside of the contrarian community team, and he is responsible for basically evaluating a business, kind of on the underwriting side, and took us through like the arc of the deal, like the arc of acquisition from valuation to closing a deal. They even have a back end. It's like, then after the deal is made, like 6 months out, like how are you profiting, et cetera. What I loved about him is his meticulousness to all the details and all the little, it's like, it just basically pulled the curtain back and was like, this is how you do it. And it was also almost like affirming to me, because in the last 3 years, I would say the last 2.5 to 3 years, I've been fixated on increasing the durability of my practice inside Serving Life. So the durability and also the scalability. And what kind of made me focus on that was just more of the evaluating where I had vulnerabilities inside my own business. And so when he's walking through their contrarian value markers, they talk about their contrarian value markers and going through a deal. They talk about financial viability to diversification, employee-centric risk, especially like if they left, like it takes revenue with them, cash flow versus cash suck, unfair advantages, happy customers, recurring revenue, and then owner-centric risk, upside potential, and then repeatable processes and documentation. And so that's where, like, for me, I know that I gleaned a lot from getting into rooms of people who've made sure to make sure their businesses were not hinged upon their presence. It's more hinged upon the processes and systems while maintaining culture. And it was nice to hear that outside of my industry, and hearing that across the board within, like, whether it's construction, whether it's HVAC, whether it's laundromats, even like service industries. But I will tell you, this is so funny. As I said, this was not an industry specific place. It's just about acquisition of companies. And I was meeting people who had purchased, what do you call them, handyman services businesses, like in Austin or in different places. And amongst all these people, guys, like amongst all these people, here I am, a chiropractor sitting in this audience. They bring out different people to showcase like how their deals went. Like, hey, I ended up purchasing this kind of company, and this is what this looked like. Well, there happened to be a woman who, her and her husband purchased a chiropractic office. And so here I am, like sitting in the audience, and I was like, excuse me, what? Talking about a chiropractic office? Her and her husband. So her husband was a coach in a dental. So he would do business consulting for dentists. I think that's right. Dentists or orthodontists. And then they applied these principles. They were like, what if we applied it inside of the chiropractic office? Well, then they applied it to the chiropractic office. She was like, our biggest hang up once we purchased, she was like, first off, we didn't profit from any of it until after a period of maybe 6 to 7 months, which apparently is totally normal from what we were hearing on stage. And then she went further and said that one of the biggest issues that she had inside this office was that the team had issues charging for the services that were being rendered. She was like, the biggest hangups were these mental blocks that they had with money. And while she was like, look, people are going to pay for this. Like, it's neuropathy, it's decompression, it's chiropractic. And they literally were showing them, like, see, people are paying for this. They had like broke mindsets. And I find it so interesting because inside of our industry, like when you go to chiropractic conferences, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of like, I don't know, outside of maybe in service industries alone, because there's a lot of bleeding hearts, but broke mindsets are one of the biggest hangups in most offices. Whether the leader has a broke mindset, is scared to charge fees that are higher, it does not look at their metrics, doesn't look at their numbers, is not looking at it was cost, was the case visit average, what does it cost to deliver care, what investments need to be done, like where could they, they're not being business savvy, basically. And to hear from other industries who are basically watching this happen, they were like, yeah, by the time like 8 months into this, we have an entirely different team. And the people who were in that office prior could no longer go to the next level because they, for whatever reason, had such a broke mindset. And I will digress and just go like a little bit further here, just in my own personal life. But like, I cannot, like, that is a big hang up with team. If you have issues, it's like, especially with maybe you have team inside your office that are like, I can't afford that for myself. You're like, it's not about you. It's about the care that we're receiving, or the care that these people are receiving from us. Like, I went to the orthodontist the other day, or we went to our dentist who does orthodontic care, and they're like, look, this is what's going on with Pearson. And they're like, we're happy that they'll be able to give you all the finances on the way out. Like, this is what what we think that he should, have done, and the whole our overarching process. And I was like, okay, well, let me look at it. So I go to the back office person. She has the computer up and she's like, okay, today it's this. And then here's the package that they were talking about. Here's the amount. How do you want to take care of it? And I'm like, I look at it and it's $7,900. And I'm like, okay, let me bring this home, because obviously this is just not, if it was like 5 and under, I'm happy to make that a call. This is something I'll probably end up talking to my husband about and see like when we want to start this process. Anyway, so $7,900. And I'm like, okay. The girl did not have an emotional reaction to that. It was like, she's in an orthodontic office. She's an assistant working in the orthodontics office. She looks at the piece of paper. She hands it to me and she says, it's $7,900. How do you want to pay for it? And I'm like, why, as chiropractors, are there people who have like, we have these people inside of our offices that are like so nervous to give over a care plan that has anything, like, it's such a broke mind. This is a symptom of, so it's just wild, because in different industries, I'm like, it's $7,900. Okay. So it's $7,900. Anyway, so it was interesting to hear their team up there go, they had broke mindsets. And I'm like, can you want to step into these chiropractic conferences? Because yes, team is usually the biggest hang up, biggest problem. And then B, broke mindsets. People are so terrified of asking for what their actual value is. It's nutty. It's absolutely nutty. So anyway, I digress, going back to Main Street over Wall Street, but Lloyd Silver he's an awesome, I love listening to him. Then there was Kwame Christian. He's in negotiation techniques. He talked about negotiation techniques for closing deals, and he's got a podcast called Negotiate Anything. But basically he was talking about being in these high pressure negotiations for either business deals. And he kind of goes through like the seller mindset, the buyer mindset, and kind of how to walk around things in communication, which I absolutely love, because back in 2020, I launched a communication course called the Conversation Lab, which is basically finding your authentic voice, leveraging it for your business, and then utilizing that for your brand. And so I geek out on anything that's going to like break down communication. And he did a beautiful job with that. And so I'm subscribed to his podcast. And then we went into Spencer Scott. So this one was so good, because Spencer Scott, he's the CEO of Lone Star Trash. I don't know if y'all heard about this before, but this is probably one of the coolest stories I've heard. Talk about a dad, like this business landed in his lap. He was like, who knew I'm the CEO of a trash company? Like, what is going on? And basically it was a business that birthed out of the pain point, and he solved a problem. And it was that his trash was not picked up for 2 weeks. They're in the DFW area. So they're like in Dallas. So when I saw him speak, I was like, wait, what? And then I knew the neighborhood he was talking about. And he was like, yeah, our trash guy did not come for 2 weeks. And then he broke it down. He's like, okay, so trash comes like what, 52 times a year? One time, comes one time a week, 52 drop offs or pickups. And he's like, let me just go in my Facebook community and figure it out. He was going through like how this went in his story. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. And he's like, well, you'd think I did this way. I didn't. He's like, it was a let's see what happens kind of storyline, which was so refreshing because, Lloyd Silver will go through all the meticulousness of like terms and owner financing, seller financing, like all the like of like certain businesses and or how to look at a business. And then this guy comes in, it's like complete antithesis is like, yeah, we just figured it out. I bought a garbage truck on Facebook Marketplace. I just asked my community if they wanted to get a different and if they wanted a membership, I just needed a 3-month commitment and I needed at least 150 members. And then we just figured it out. And then I tried to buy trash bins. And then I purchased recycled people who businesses went out of business. They have old ones. So I purchased them. And he just ended up having this garbage truck delivered on his driveway while his wife is in labor and had to get his elderly neighbor to go out there and sign for it. Like, it's just funny. And then all the trash bins are basically left on his driveway. And I'm like, oh, the HOA to see a garbage truck in the bins, like all on this guy's like driveway is hilarious hearing all about it. But you want a refreshing story, you need to look up CEO of Lone Star Trash, which is Spencer Scott. And he's got a great, great story. But it was nice to hear like his way of finding his way to basically creating a business, but it wasn't because he wanted to, it's because it ended up doing this. And he's just a tech guy. Anyway, it was wild. Then there's a certain aspect of, I think the contrarian community has a place called the boardroom. So they have two separate entities. The boardroom is like if you want to have your business evaluated by Codie and her team. And they just kind of look at like where you need to be, where can it be streamlined, where can it be simplified, where can it be scaled, all these kinds of things. It assesses the whole thing. Then they have the other side, which is, you going through their deal box to their deal calculator to how to acquire a business. So I'm not personally part of the boardroom. I'm part of the other one. Anyway, but in the boardroom, they evaluate businesses. And so they brought these different businesses up on stage that they looked at. And you could never have guessed it, but there was a chiropractor's office up there, guys. I kid you not. Like the whole time, the 2 days we were there, two different. One was buying a chiropractic office and one was evaluating a chiropractic practice. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, anyway, and basically they looked at profit margins for this team. They are overpaying an associate doctor. They didn't need to have. They swallowed profits for, I think, 6 months because they did not make the decision because they just thought it would all work out and hung on to this associate who did not produce profits for over 6 months. And literally everyone in the room gasped when this happened. And I will say this happens a lot in our industry where we hang on to team because we're like, they'll pull through with just a little more training. Let's just train them more. They'll pull through and they don't. And you're just eating profits left, right, and center because you're like, I've already poured in this much. Surely this will all pan out. Well, listening to other industries, listen to that. And they're like, well, are you crazy? Like, you don't do that. Like you're taking hits from your profits. Like you may not even be a viable business if you keep that going on, which is it's always good to hear. Like, it's just wild. They went from team of 13 to a team of 6, let go of that associate, increase their profitability. Now they're needing team. So there was a little bit of that I was like, yeah, you got to be hiring ahead of growth. Like, I don't want to be in a position because now they're in a position where they fixed all their marketing and they're getting leads and they're coming in and there's conversion. However, now they don't have the team and infrastructure to support the next level of growth. So I kind of disagreed with their trimming of the fat that much and kind of leaving them to a place where now they're going to have to fixate on training and growth at the same time. So there's just a little bit of that. But then Codie, of course, she was sprinkled in she was doing interviews with different people, but she also was coming up on stage and speaking a little bit, kind of hot takes from Codie, basically. And she was just, she shared some big things. She fixates on speed. She talks about this a lot, especially if you follow her on Instagram. But making sure, like, she's like, speed is contagious. You can never make more time, but you can steal other people's. And so basically, how can you collapse time by basically investing in other people's knowledge that are going to help you? And then simplicity wins. Like she's talking about, obviously, if you're wanting to scale, you have to get simple. Like you can't be doing a million things at the same time. She talked about different objections that keep people from purchasing businesses. Those just like, oh, I'll do it when I have X in the bank. And basically that kind of like the limiting belief of like, it has to be like, in order to purchase a business, it has to be on your own capital, and some of the creative financing processes and different ways of obtaining businesses. And whether it's SBA loans, but usually that takes too long. Like deals need to be closed fast. But there's seller financing, there's owner financing, there's all the things. She talks about like even some issues with like, even like if the partner or your spouse isn't on board, that kind of being an objection. She talked about shame and doubt. So she talked about, are your fears worth listening to? Very interesting. I mean, kind of goes into more of the psychology behind, worth and people just basically going all in on their dreams. And like, she's like, if you're looking to acquire a business, like you're going to have to act fast. You can't sit on things. She just talked about different things about letting go of control, leaning on other people, compressing your timeline with someone else's knowledge. I mean, she just went into all the things that she loves to do little hot takes on. But it was interesting to hear her discuss just different avenues and have people come in different places, whether healthcare, whether it was like she even had Arthur Brooks, who is a professor at Harvard Business School. And the name of his class is The Neuroscience of Happiness. So he's teaching the neuroscience of happiness at Harvard Business School. And apparently his class literally fills up within 11 minutes. There are people wait lists that are at Harvard Business School, but he spoke about your calling and how to find it. And so this wasn't just about like acquire, like it's all the nuances that make up an entrepreneur basically. And I started following him, and I highly encourage you to follow him if you haven't followed him as well. But yeah, I mean, I could go on and on. There's so many nuances. And when you get in these rooms, like I think I have maybe 20 pages of notes and talking about risks and talking about terms on the back end of business, like of value or deals. And all of it was just so insightful. I was just absorbing, sometimes just getting these rooms and you absorb. And some of the things that I can battle with is like, do I deserve to be in the room? Half of that keeps people from investing in stuff like this. Like it took money to get into that room with 100 or 700 business owners, and then me learning their stories at dinner, or I didn't know one soul there. I knew 0 people there, which was kind of refreshing. But I plugged in and I got to know a few people, and then I'm put in a cohort group inside of their community, and then we have calls and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just really invested in I'm worth getting into these rooms. Like, this is what I'm needing to know. My accountant is like, Denise, you're going to have to buy a business or buy some sort of commercial property next year. That is your next tax strategy. And so if I'm going to do that, then I felt the need that I needed to be in a room with people who know how to do this, and then have them in my corner, and I can present the deal inside that community. And then also to get very clear about what I want to say yes to. What do I want to say no to? Like, what kind of businesses do I want to acquire? What do I know? And like, what could I bring value to a certain business? And so anyway, it's just very eye-opening. And I know that I'm just going to be learning and leveraging other relationships in order to like see this out and walk this out. So if I'm told like I'm going to need to do something, I'm like, Lord, what room do I need to be in? And it's like, hey, you need to be in this room. And I don't know what's going to come from it, but I trust that me investing in that gives me some knowledge base to know when things are a yes, I know how to walk it out. If it's a no, at least I have some people who can help me discern inside what I'm trying to grow or what our family's trying to grow. So anyway, hopefully you gleaned a lot from this. If you're not following Codie Sanchez, do that. I'm excited to share with you guys, like, again, other places that I'm investing in the rooms to be. I know I covered the Expanders Retreat. I'm covering Main Street over Wall Street. And then I'll be able to cover my 6 hours with Ed Milet tomorrow. So I'm excited. Next week, be ready. You're going to hear from Dr. Pete Camiolo. It's such a great episode, and I have so many great speakers coming out. I think we're planned out all the way through next February. So pumped for all of this, and I hope you have a great week ahead. I'll see you later. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Burn It Better. Follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, tap 5 stars or write us a quick review. That's how this work is going to grow. I'd love to hear what stood out for you in this conversation. Share this episode, tag me at Southern_Cairo on Instagram, and pass it on to someone who needs it today.